Host started recording.
There we are. We started recording. I'm 𝓕𝓻𝓵𝓃𝓻, the Twisted Light Worker. I'm glad you could make it to this Thrivalism Thursday on this January the 18th. It's going to be a weekly thing, and I know that the attendance will increase as time goes on and people see that it's a regular occurrence. They'll check it out to see what's going on. Thrivalism Thursday has three components to it. We start off with I've got Bruce Poppy maybe popping in, who knows? He was one with us last time. So anyways, yeah. So Thrivalism Thursday, we start off with breaking it into three parts. We're going to have a metaphysical, spiritual beginning, first little opening to the webinar. Sometimes I'm sure that will be the longest part of the webinar. Phase two will be, we're going to be talking about what we can do in our communities offline to make a difference, to improve this world and make it something that we've never seen before. And today we have Joe Jakubowski, who has started a really unique group a few years back, CSA. I'm going to bring him on as a speaker shortly, and he and I will just have a little bit of a discussion and record that for the people who are here and for the video that I will make afterwards. So once again, welcome everybody. I appreciate you all coming, and look, hopefully that you're going to get a little bit of an insight as to what Thrivalism Thursday is all about, and be able to make use of it in the future. So I'm going to try making you a speaker now, Joe, and bring you in. Welcome, Joe Jakubowski, to the platform. There, I think, Joe, you should be able to unmute yourself and put your video on.
It's got her, Neil.
Great, great. So welcome, Joe. It's good to have you here. How did your visit with your son go tonight?
Oh, he's gone to visit his grandmother, so I freed up some time for me.
All right, let me just, I just got a text from Bruce. He said the link won't work, so I'll email him another one.
Where's everybody else, Neil?
Well, that's what all came from my advertising and marketing this time. I had 34 show up, or at least they said they were interested in last week's. And unfortunately, what happened was the Connect was making upgrades and it wouldn't let me access the thing. So maybe a few people that were frustrated with last day and didn't come up this time. So who knows?
There's a few people though, aren't there? Aren't there a few people?
Well, we just got you and I and Harry, and we just got another person in, Gustavo Cali. Hello, Gustavo, and Christ Trust, and my friend Harry Brett Schneider. He's right from here in Simcoe.
Why can't we see them on the screen like a regular?
Because I have it set up so that's just me and the speaker right now. So that'd be you and me.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So I will bring them on afterwards. Let me just give that email to Bruce. And while I'm doing that, why don't you introduce yourself, Joe, and tell us a little bit about why the reason was that you started CSA?
Well, briefly, I was 30 years with the OPP and as a sergeant, and I retired in 2017 and continued investigating what was going on in the world and could start to see very quickly what was coming, looking at the evidence. So I felt felt the need or the desire or the inspiration to create a grassroots organization that Neil referred to as Community Support Alliance. And so I started that in 2019 along with some other leaders in the community. And we've got about 150 members on the Norfolk team right now. And then we got other branches across the province as well. So altogether, probably about 600 members, and opening a new one in Niagara Falls, February 4th. I got to go there to speak to a group. So they've got one going there as well.
Cool. So what was the main purpose of the group and why you got it started that way? What did you feel it was a need that was called?
Well, I was working with our local PPC candidate asked me to be on his advisory team, and I was working with him and out helping campaign and talking to people, and you could see all the angst out there and the worry and the fear, and amongst the people that were awakened, of course,
Yeah.
not the sleepers, but. So once we saw that the 2019 election obviously was a fraudulent election, right? So you could see the writing on the wall from that point. So I started thinking we've got to build a parallel society, and it's got to be done at grassroots level. So basically, I just sat down. I thought, well, and structured it. I wanted to structure it to. It's got to have that strong foundation of structure that you can plug people into. So I tried several different platforms, eventually settled on Telegram because I was banned from Facebook, so I couldn't do it on there. They banned me for 2 years for building the group on there originally. I had 800 members in no time on Facebook, and then they banned my account and the people I'd set up to help administer the account. So I had to rebuild it on Telegram. That was the next best option I found, and so it's very key. There's several keys, but one is the structure and having planning teams. So we got about 20 or 30 different planning teams. Things like food production and distribution, where we have our community garden, and we've got a call to action team if there's a petition that needs to be signed, or there's a rally coming up, or someone's in need of help. We got a communications team, which we've set up radio towers, and in 8 different zones within Norfolk County. So we got a captain basically in each zone, a communications captain with a ham radio and tower and ham radio licenses. And then our members, we've got them getting handheld portable radios. So that's our communication system set up if everything collapses. Basically, what we work on all the time is the premise of we prepare for the worst and pray for the best. And it's just people helping people, so we're pooling resources. So, a few other teams, our child education team, setting up curriculums and stuff like that for homeschooling. Health services team, where we got a lot of nurses who lost their jobs due to the illegal mandates, so they offer health services. We got emergency shelter planning team, where we get together as a group. Right now we're building 2 teepees at our community farm for emergency shelter building. Spiritual group, we have a spiritual group meeting once a month, where we talk about everything. Really, it's not really a biblical group, but there are biblical people in it, and kind of metaphysics. It's quite a mixture. It's quite interesting. My favorite conversations, the most interesting conversations in the group for sure. We also have like a neighborhood watch program where we train our members how to target harden their residences, and how to come together to do community patrols and stuff like that. Again, we're basically working, as anyone on this video was probably on the same page, but basically society is collapsing very soon as the World Bank continues to collapse, which is a great thing, but we still have to be prepared for the fallout. So basically anything that the government currently provides, that's what we got a planning team to address. And Neil, anything question about that so far?
No, just keep talking and tell a little bit about the trials and troubles that you've had to get it started. That's probably a good thing to know.
Yeah, it's been a long haul. I'll tell you, it's been a long 4 years. Like I said, I started right out losing my social media account, Twitter and Facebook, for a couple of years. And then the only way I could really promote it at the start, because I didn't have access to Facebook, so the only way I could really promote it is by hand, taking flyers. So I did a bunch of flyers, and I go to rallies, and of course I get charged for speaking at one rally. It was an interesting experience because I never spoken to big crowds before, and I spoke at the Simcoe rally for No More Lockdowns. I ended up getting charged by our lovely OPP there, and of course it all got withdrawn after they dicked around and realized it's all unconstitutional. But anyways, from there I just handed out flyers, and then I went to some big events in London. Chris Sky threw an event there, and it was interesting because I'm out in the crowd just handing flyers out, and I saw the druthers guys go by. They were carrying something, setting up something, and I just walked up to them and I showed them the flyer and started telling them about the Community Support Alliance. And he says, "Oh, that sounds great, man." He says, "You want to tell the crowd about it?" I said, "Okay." He said, "Well, here, I know the guy that's arranging it." So he takes me over to the stage, calls over the guy that's arranging the speakers, and shows him it. And I tell the guy a quick little spiel about it, and he says, "Okay, you're up next." So, and there were like 7,000 people there that day. It was just packed, and it was a real electric vibe though, because everybody was freedom fighters, and it was a nice day. It was a nice summer day, and yeah, so that was interesting. But that's basically what I'm getting around to is that's how it started, was just word of mouth, and just spreading it, and today it's basically the same thing. Today we've got business cards now, and other ways of promoting online. Now we can promote more online without getting banned, now that the tide has changed. But yeah, so again, the key if you're thinking of doing something like this, is setting up that communications platform. And then someone's got to administer that communications platform. So it's a lot of work to administer it. So you want to have someone that's retired, probably, and computer literate. And because the members need to communicate with each other through the week on the different planning teams, even though they're just maybe texting back and forth, but then that spurs phone calls, and then they might do online video chats and stuff like that. But it keeps everyone communicating during the week and planning and thinking about the group. And then once a week, you have to have the in-person meetings. The members need that for support. Some of them for support. Some of them just want to share new information they found. Some of them just like the social aspect. But the weekly meetings, we haven't missed any all the way through the lockdowns, and so that's like 4 years of meetings now.
Cool. Yeah, I finally got Bruce in. Hello, Bruce. You'll be able to activate your mic and video as you go. Bruce was on my first webinar that I did back in December, and he was with the Truth Tour going around the United States, and their objective was much the same as the CSA, and that is teach the people on the ground in a grassroots style, and make some changes. So hello, Bruce, and welcome.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We hear you loud and clear.
Great. Yeah, so I don't know what was going on with that other link. It just kept telling me that the could not provide a secure connect. The short link did not work. The long link, bam, let me right in.
Cool. Well, I had trouble figuring out how to get you the long link because once the webinar started, I had to learn a new way of getting the link because I didn't have it recorded. The long links. I only put the short ones in my text file. Anyways,
thank goodness we can still learn, right?
I think we try anyway. Absolutely, absolutely. So, this is the second part of the Thrivalism Thursdays, where we talk about how we can make a difference to the community. And Joe just gave us a background of how he started the CSA, but let's talk a little bit more about the activities that you take place every week and what you're doing for contacting the other groups. And then we'll let Bruce share a little bit more on what he was. How did you, Bruce, this is the question that I want you to answer. I didn't quite ask it the right way the last time, is tell me some stories about things that happened on the road that made it really worthwhile and fun. So you can ponder that while Joe gives a little update about what our weekly meetings are about and what the meetings are like when he goes to the other ones, because he and I are in the one that's in my location, but Joe put on or was founded a number of other locations, and I've never attended any of those. So Joe, you want to talk a little bit about what actually takes place at the meetings and how we get people motivated to do a little bit more on the ground to build a community? I like that rather than using a parallel society. We do, because we've lost the touch of reality. We used to go to church to have gatherings and create community. And when people started to stop going to church, they stopped creating community, and they all just live in their four walls. That's it. And that's where we've been programmed to live by design. So tell us a little bit more about the beginning stages of making the Community Support Alliance actually work in the meetings itself.
Yeah, well, the meetings are always challenging, as anyone that's ever tried to run a meeting knows. And when you're trying to run them every week and you've got new members coming in weekly, we usually, our meetings usually, they've been anywhere as low as 30 up to 70 members. And that's every Monday we have them. It's quite a mixed crowd, like I say, because often there'll be 4 or 5 new members coming in, and they're at a different awakening stage than the old timers in the group who are very deep into what's going on in the world and the reality of the situation that we face. So it's running those type of meetings is a juggling act, because you don't want to overwhelm the new people, where at the same time you don't want to bore the people that are way beyond what you're discussing. So it's kind of like running a classroom in a school, right? You got to try and find that middle ground. And when you're talking about things like politics and religion and spirituality, opinions can be different, right? And
that's actually one of the videos that I have on my things to do list, and that is the 2 topics that we've been programmed, literally MK Ultra programmed not to talk about, are the 2 most important topics to talk about, as long as we learn how to have compassionate, open-minded discussions on difficult subjects. And neither of those subjects are difficult. They've only been programmed to be difficult because we've been programmed not to even talk about it. But they're the most 2 important topics there are to bring people together, because there's more common ground between people than there are differences.
Yeah, it's if everyone would just try and remember that really we don't know anything. We've got a lot of beliefs, but we don't know anything, right? And if everyone had that mentality going into every situation that they're looking at, whatever it may be, the next catastrophe or the next fear porn, like if you approach it from that angle, then you're going to approach it cautiously, and you're going to question everything, and you're going to dig and dig and dig before you dive head first in the shallow end of the pool, which is what most people just do, right? So.
Well, you know what? Even if it's the deep end of the pool, we don't test the water, and sometimes it's barely past the ice stage. And it's a shock to the system when you jump in there. Anyways, tell us some fun stories that happened while you were on the Truth Tour, and maybe give a real brief overview of what the Truth Tour was about first.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Neil. So the Truth Tour was we ended up going around, was the brainchild of Lewis Herms of Screw Big Gov. And he had this vision, doing this, taking information to people in the cities. This is right towards the end of COVID. He started, anyway, he started Truth Tour 1. I participated in 2 of those events. And then Truth Tour 2, we put it together a whole bunch of different people in the truther community, patriots, all from all different walks. I mean, everybody from, Derek Johnson down to some really heavy spiritualists, and everything in between. So we would travel around to these different cities. Truth Tour 2 was we wanted to go into the forbidden cities, the places, the blue cities, the places that nobody ever goes, that have given up as the lost cause. Places like Los Angeles, up into Oregon, Washington State, St. Paul, Minnesota, New York,
the Beast.
Yeah, New York, up in New Jersey. I mean, all the way around the country, we went to all these different places. And some of the biggest, the funnest stuff that we got to do was to be able to see the face of the people and realize and make a networking connection, because many people came to the event to be able to see or hear their favorite truther, whoever you want to put a name on there, Mark Atwood, Jason Q, Lewis, there's just all kinds of different personalities from all over the place. So they initially came there, but then when we were preaching, hey, you need to get involved, school boards, county commissions, local is where the action happens.
Yeah.
General Flynn says, local action has national impact. Lewis kind of coined, if we fix the macro, the micro will take care of itself. And that's just another way of putting, getting involved in your own backyard, because that's where we can have the most impact and control, or impact and influence. But anyway, some of the story, just the people, hey, I'm so glad you came here. Nobody ever comes here. I thought I was on an island. I'm all by myself. But when we go into, the venues or the different cities, we always had different numbers. It wasn't about numbers. One of the best meetings that we had, this was part of Truth Tour 3, which was after 2, we stayed local in California. We did sometimes 2 a days, 3-hour little workshops of actually giving people, verbiage and, ideas and, kind of role playing a little bit and approaching school boards and county commissions, stuff like that. So I can't remember the name of the city, but one of the best meetings we had, only 4 people showed up. And there's like 6 of us on the team. So there was more people on the team than there was people, but we just sat around a table and we just said, hey, what's going on here? How can, so we just, spitballed a bunch of different ideas and problems that they were having in their local community concerning libraries and schools and all, all the normal stuff that everybody's fighting everywhere. And so that was one of the, best, situations, just that intimate, one-on-one, hey, let's, spitball, see what we can do about getting people active. Because that's the key, is getting people active, getting people off of the couch, just getting out of that savior syndrome, waiting for Trump, the alliance, white hats, whatever name you want to put on it, to come in and save the day. We the people have been the major part of the plan from the very beginning.
Yeah. That's why the where we go one, we go all was all part of it, because who wears the white hats? Absolutely every one of us who are fighting to make the world a better place to be.
Right. And that's where the some of the corrupt, we can see it's very obvious, all the different corruption and things that are going on the national and federal and national level, and even to the state level. But you would be surprised of how infiltrated some of these even small, tiny local communities are with their mayors, depending on how the structure of the government is set up. Sometimes the mayor is just a figurehead. The city council runs everything, and then you got county commissions. It's just
Yeah.
And that's where all these guys get their taste for the power. And then they start climbing that political ladder, moving up from this, local stuff to county stuff to state stuff. And then, their wet dream is to get, be in the federal system so they can be able to take advantage of we the people.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't see a political solution at all. I think we're just deluding ourselves to think there's a political solution to this world war. And it's so infiltrated in Canada. Like we're just infested with these globalist cabal, for whatever reason, either through blackmail, bribery, or just stupidity, right? Because we get so many people that were just us totally asleep in Canada. And on top of that, we only got 40 million people on all this land. For Canada to get, like for us in our area, to try and get people together to make a change politically, like these people, they all have to be removed. All 338 of them in federal have to be removed.
100%.
You're not going to get them out. They're not going to get these. It's basically a mafia.
It is 100%.
It's a world mafia, and you're not going to get them out without military force. So if we don't have a military backing that's out there fighting against this cabal military, then we're done, right?
That's where I see a whole lot already taking place behind the scenes.
Oh yeah.
And the best story that I've heard from some of my research, I listened to a general do a talk, and I wish I would have recorded the link to it, but he was in Iraq, and they give the story about what it took to take over a city. And it was a small city, 70 or 80,000 people, if my memory serves me correctly, is what he said. Because my mind thought, oh, about the size of Brantford, which is not too far from here. And he had 2,800 men. And so he asked the question, how long do you think it took us to take over the city with the military takeover? And of course, there was all kinds of crazy answers to it. And he says, no, 25 minutes. He says, we had groups go out and we shut down all the major roads in and out. Had a group took over the police. So we had all control of all of the cop cars, no matter where they were, via their radios. We took over town hall, and we took over fire and hospital. And it was like 25 minutes, 2,800 people shut down a city of 70,000 people. And here's the best part. The people, the citizens of that city did not know that it took place. And that is what I think is happening. We don't know what's taken place. People get all upset about what's going on in the government here and the crazy things that the fake prime minister is doing. I'm 100% certain he's fake. Well, I shouldn't say 100. I'm 99% sure he's fake.
No doubt.
It's already been done. It's all been done. I have zero concerns about the cabal having any influence. There are little pockets all over the place.
Yeah, I'm of the same mindset, but the thing that threw a curveball at me, of course, was Hawaii, right? When you got that kind of DW damage and death that's going on and missing kids and stuff, I really didn't think the cabal still had that much power left.
Well, you know what? One of the people I know who has bought some land on Maui after that occurred, just before that occurred, he said the children were all safe. There were casualties. They had wind of it going to happen, but not enough time to get everybody safe. And it's all shut down and closed because there were other things that was going on that the cabal were doing there with their trafficking and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
So that was part of the cabal wanted to wipe out evidence of that. But I want to keep this talk a little less onto the negative. I want to talk about what's been positive with the CSA group, what's been positive with the Truth Tours. What funny stories can you say about that happened within the groups so that people get excited about creating this community? Because it goes right back to what General Flynn said. We got to do it at the grassroots in the community, because if we all do that right, we change the whole world. And if we get hung up on believing and talking about only the negative and the fear-filled stuff, that's nonsense. That's not going to create a difference in the community. We have to be excited about the changes. And because you've had so many different communities that you've been in, Bruce, some of the funny things that happen and evidence of people getting together. When you had them there for a meeting, I'm sure there were some of them that didn't know each other, that all of a sudden they were working as a team, and they give you evidence of what the truth.
Absolutely, yes. No, that's what one of the things that we made sure of that we did is at the end of every event, we gave some time. Hey, meet your neighbors, shake some hands, exchange some phone numbers, get connected on social media. And I know that there have been multiple people from different locations. One particular I'm thinking about in Michigan, that they went out, they didn't have a patriot group that met in their local community, you know, like talking super local. So they started one, you know, and then it started growing. I mean, just a couple people meeting in a house. The group that I'm part of here in where I live, they started just with a handful of people in the house wanting to go against the, you know, fight the school board about the masking thing. That's when that group started. And so just a couple people in the house now, that it's called Town Hall Patriots, and they meet twice a month. There's probably close to 1,000 people on our Facebook group. You know, the twice a month meeting, probably 300-400 people show up. They bring in different speakers. The other cool thing about the group, and if you can, if you're, you know, see this and looking to start a group in your own area, is they had different little, you know, every person has a different passion, you know, something that they're drawn to. Like, you know, some people might be more drawn to help with the school board situation, or the county commission, or work on election integrity or health freedom. So they have all these different smaller groups that meet and, you know, do and investigate and, you know, get the information. We come back together as a bigger group and say, hey, this is what we found out. This is what we need. You know, these are in this primary, these are the candidates we want to find out information. So everybody's working together in their own gifting for the bigger benefit of the entire group. You know, so this has happened all over the country. Small little fires have started, not near enough, you know, in my mind. You know, like Joe said, there is no political solution. I think part of this is helping to train us, you know, make us aware, because quite honestly, the situation that we're in, we have some fault in that, being, you know, that we were fat and sassy, and you know, we outsourced our own self-governance for so very long, thinking we believed that these institutions, these people that we allegedly elected, had our best interests at heart. They were working, everything was running, you know, fine. If you know, didn't really pay attention to a lot of the minutia, you could live your life and not even having, you know, notice that anything's going on. So that's where we're at right here. You know, you can see, you know, the different protests that are happening all over the planet. We haven't had that here in America because there's just not been enough pain yet here in America, because the propaganda, the media is so widespread, is so entrenched, and so many people are still buying in to the fake, phony, and false stuff that they're putting out on the mainstream media. So once something, I believe it's going to be like a financial, you know, collapse situation that is going to be the next wave of people to be waking up. But we're all in training right now, you know, working in our local, because once we get through this and we can, you know, take care of some of the bigger items that we don't have any control over, you know, then we have to rebuild, you know, our communities back to where, you know, I would love to go back, you know, to a little house on the prairie type of situation days, you know, where, you know, everybody helped each other, everybody knew each other, you know, if you had a problem, you know, the whole bartering system, but at the same time, bring in, you know, utilize some of the technology that we have that we can use, instead of just being, you know, on autopilot to transhumanism and all this different stuff. So, you know, there has to be a balance, and that's what, you know, I'm a solution guy. We're going to get through this, but, you know, what's it look like on the other side? How are we going to, you know, build this? How are we going to bring back, you know, discussion between people who have different viewpoints, or, you know, differing opinions? We all got to work together and come to a consensus. You know, at some point, the way that they've pitted us all against us, they're ultimately wanting us to somebody to do some crazy stuff and start firing off some freedom seeds, and that's just going to, you know, start a cascade of stuff that we don't want to be a part of.
One of the stories that I bring up every time I'm talking to somebody who's just beginning to be curious about what's going on, I say, do you remember when 9/11 happened? And of course, everybody remembers that. And I says, well, right after that, Bush went to Iraq, and he was starting to get a lot of heat. And more people were starting to dig into what really happened on that day. And the truth was getting close to being revealed. And so how did the paper MK Ultra program us and train us to look somewhere else? And it was so simple. And it's easy to go back in your memory and actually remember what happened there. Front page news was the war in Iraq for the longest time. Then what happened? Michael Jackson held a baby over top of the balcony. And Martha Stewart, she got insider trading. Well, those took the front page. And the program Sheep, all of us, we were MK Ultra. Just like that, we stopped talking about the war. The war was still the most important topic on the planet. But it was little tiny stories on page 4. And Martha and Michael took front page, and everybody forgot about the war. And everybody forgot about 9/11. It's ridiculous how easily manipulated we are.
Bruce, with what you're saying, it's nice to hear from, I don't know where you're from, but I assume you're in the U.S. It's nice to hear that.
I'm down in Florida.
Oh, cool. It's nice to hear that, like, across this distance, we're basically thinking the same way. Like with our Community Support Alliance, we've got, like you said, planning teams where there's team leaders who've got certain skills in certain areas, whether it be child education, healthcare, naturopath, spiritual. We got all these different groups, and we create them on Telegram with all the different groups, so everyone's can communicate that way, or at our weekly meetings. Plus, you have other meetings during the week, like a spiritual group meeting once a month. We've got shelter building, where we're building a couple of teepees right now, emergency shelter building team. We got a neighborhood watch team where we deal with things like self-defense, and we've been doing this for quite a few years. But it's nice to hear the validation that you guys are thinking the exact same way. And a lot of the discussion I have with our group too is always reminding them, yes, right now we're kind of a prepper group, but when things flip and we hit the reboot button, we got to rebuild society, and it's going to be done at the grassroots level. You're looking at, like, I've heard numbers up to 98% less federal and provincial politicians, and
that would be a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it's all going to be at the grassroots level. So that people are going to have to get involved. Like you said, they won't be able to be complacent like we've been most of our lives, most of us, right? So it's a big shift coming, big ascension, as we like to talk about, right, Neil?
Absolutely, 100%. And that's why it's so important right now for us to gird ourselves up as individuals. I'm huge, and it's I've noticed this recently, multiple different people that I kind of keep an eye on, follow, within the community that do shows and stuff, that we're not connected. It's not like we get together on a meeting at 4 o'clock in the morning and drop our talking points for the day that everybody's talking about the same crap. But many different people are all talking about the whole personal development aspect of this, getting connected, being the best version of yourself, because when your caca does hit the fan, it's not if, it's a matter of when. It's going to be up to us, to come alongside some of the newbie normies, to help them so their heads don't explode, to help them with their healing and their understanding of what's been going on for their entire life. That's our role, I believe, going forward. And so I've been pushing hard on the personal development aspect stuff.
Absolutely. That's my main focus is personal growth. In fact, way back in February of 21, I made 4 videos to expose the human trafficking, and the final video was all about personal growth and waking up the lions. And anyone who's actually paid attention to my videos that I've produced since then, like just last year, I did 42 of them last year. And anyone paying attention can see that I'm focusing on doing my best to waking up the lions. And that's what CSA does. That's what the Truth Tour does. We're reaching out to the communities to find the people who are willing to get up off the couch and participate in creating a community. And what I said on Monday night, Joe's meeting, our meeting, because I'm part of that team, I said that I really appreciated being part of the team. And the biggest accomplishment that we really made, in fact, that we've got all these things going on, but the biggest accomplishment, we learned how hard it is to create community. And that is going to turn into a whole lot of fun from my perspective. I think we're going to see a lot more street parties. Like the old days, you have a barbecue, you close off the street, get permission to shut it off. And if you can't get it shut off, well, okay, everybody puts their barbecue on lawns and you go up and down the sidewalk.
I say,
You know what?
permission,
You know what I think?
permission from who?
You know what I
Permission
think?
from who? They can't stop me.
What I think is going to be a key to that, Neil, is big corporation falling. Once the big corporation falls, where's all the business going to be? It's going to be back where the people live. So it's going to be back in the downtowns, and it's going to be all it's going to be beautiful downtowns, and it's going to be all small, privately owned businesses. None of these franchises and multi-level corporations, billion-dollar corporations, because we see where they lead to, right? And if we allow them in the future, it's just going to happen all over again. So going forward, I know there's got to be a beautiful plan for us, because there's so many little details that got to be covered to make sure that we don't do the same damn thing over again, right?
I see more fun happening than anything, quite frankly. I really do, because I've already started that. Because as participating as I have with the CSA, I've also done a driveway garden in a lady's down the street from me, who used to be across the street from me. And it's just a garden 4 feet wide and about, maybe 50 feet long. And it was a flower bed by her neighbor's driveway. So I call it a driveway garden. And I had flowers growing up on each side, put the peppers down the middle, had some kale in there. I ended up putting 40 jars of canned kale soup base. I added I copped out. I added frozen vegetables to it, but I chopped up the kale. I added onions. I added a little bit of spice, and all the tomatoes that I grew at the front of the driveway garden. I put that all in there, and I had 48 jars of this soup base, and all I had to do was add hamburger meat, and I had really good tomato, vegetable, beef soup. It was awesome, and plus, I love my hot sauce. I had 7 bottles, 726s of hot sauce that I put down from that little bit of a driveway garden. I was mentioning that to one of the locals that live in this small town where I live. And I said, like in the 50s and 60s, everybody had fruit trees in the backyard. This person had an apple tree. This person had a pear. And the guy back there, he's got peaches. We used to share. And those are the kind of things that are so bloody simple that we've chopped all those trees down so that we could go support the major shopping. And those are the little things that I truly believe are coming back. And I see that as totally fun. Totally fun. The last 2 years in a row, I grew an apple seed. I should start one now, come to think of it. And I get it about this high by spring, and I take it out into the bush and plant it. Well, the first one, it got about 4 feet high in the first year, but a deer ate it and took all the bark off in the winter. And then a groundhog ate it to the ground the next year. So I got to plant another one in that spot. And I'm ready to go out and put a nets around them. So I'm going to be doing an apple tree every year like that. And if everybody did something silly like that, it would make a difference in the wild. There's a province in China, I believe it is, that they do that. Everybody in that province, typically if they buy fruit in the store, they'll wash the nuts, the cores, the pits, and they'll take them out for a walk and plant them. And they've got all kinds of wild fruit growing out there now. So we make it complicated. It doesn't have to be. And I believe when the 𝓱𝓮𝓮 kicks in and we're not going to be taxed to death, I really believe that creating these communities will stop being the hard work it has been for CSA and what you guys are doing with the Truth Tour. Man, it's going to start to be more fun when people start to realize, hey, I got a fruit tree growing in the bush back there. I'm going to go pick my own apples right there and make my own apple pies. We don't want to make it complicated. We got to make it fun.
Like the Mandalorian said, this is the way.
Yeah. Yeah, blessed are the flexible, they're not bent out of shape. So we have to be able to bend with this
Absolutely.
winds that we're living in, and
Absolutely.
not take any of it as a fear-filled agenda. No, 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 no. Attention goes, pardon me, energy flows where attention goes. So if we're staring at the weeds and not pulling them, then our attention's in the wrong place. But if we recognize the weed, all we got to do is go pull it. Is put your attention on the solution, and the solution's fun. It's not laborious. It's not laborious. Anyway, yeah, that's my 2 cents in this. And it's a real pleasure being part of CSA. I love it because I watched this community come together, and everybody's so different. We got some background noise from somebody here. Is that you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out.
I didn't know we had kids online. I would have watched my tone more.
Also, it's coming from your place?
No, I don't know where it's coming from.
I got the sound coming on my speakers instead of my headphones.
I remember when I watched your video when you first got that what do you call that? Like, Bruce, when you
It's
when you
the
first
it's the Poppy's Podcast Starter Kit.
Yeah, the Poppy's Podcast Starter Kit. My wife was out shopping for Christmas, and she found it. And the reason she got it is because that's my nickname is Poppy. So it's got the microphone. It's got the little voice changer thing. I got sound effects like laughter and cheering and different things, or when Joe Biden falls down. All these different things. So it's a lot of fun, but the setting in this 𝓘𝓻𝓮 is a little different. I got my webcam. It's giving me audio for my microphone, but not my speakers. Is there a way to change the output audio input instead of I want audio output?
all I know is that what you're seeing right now is Mickey Mouse to what's coming. There's all kinds of tools coming with 𝓘𝓻𝓮 that's not ready there. We've got kind of things right here in the 𝓘𝓻𝓮 too. We've got loud whistles and we got a wolf whistle, and we got wows.
Wow.
There's a whole bunch of little gizmos that we can do for fun in there. But anyway, yeah. So have you got a super funny story that happened when you're out on the truth tour that you could share? What would be the funniest story that happened? It has nothing to do with.
These aren't working. I'll do it. Well, the funniest story,
Yeah.
had to do with some of the behind the scenes stuff. And so we all met over in near LA at Lewis's house. That's where he had the RV. People are showing up. Mark Atwood, Derek Johnson, all the different people that were going with us in the RV. So I was driving my vehicle. I was dragging the trailer with all the speakers and everybody's luggage. So the RV, my car, and I think there was one other one. But anyway, we left out of Lewis's place, and less than 20 minutes after he left, Derek Johnson, in the RV, there's this swivel chair that sits right beside the side door that kind of goes outside. So Derek was sitting in the swivel chair, and as we're going along, so a turn was made. The door wasn't closed all the way. So the door swung open, and the way that Derek was sitting there was hit kind of a bump. He thought he was going to be ejected out of that thing. And he became scared to death. He wanted to get out of the RV. A second thing happened not shortly after that is they were doing some construction on the highway. The road was uneven. The guy driving the RV, it's an older RV, it floats around a little bit, but he got off of the edge the thing, and it freaked him out, and he overcorrected, came back up, and he put that RV on 2 wheels. And again, Derek Johnson thought he was going to die. So he ended up stopped. He got out as quick as he could. He got out of the RV, and he never got back in it the entire trip. So he was scared to death of the RV. Another crazy story behind the scenes. As we were traveling through New Mexico. We had just gone through. We planned to stay in Roswell, New Mexico, But we got there late. Somebody was messed up with the reservations. There was no hotel, so we drove on to some Indian reservation. Anyway, we're out in the middle of freaking nowhere in New Mexico. I'm driving my vehicle with the trailer. My wife's next to me, and then I got Mark Atwood and 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓻𝓸𝓭𝓾 in the back seat. So we're having a grand old time, looking for spaceships in the sky and just all kind, just a grand old time getting to know each other. They're just talking about real people and the salt of the earth. But anyway, going along, all of a sudden, everybody's looking for spaceships. I'm kind of peering up, watching the road. Like I said, you can't see nothing dark out of the headlights. I look up, all of a sudden, there's this massive deer with big antlers in the road. And I was like, oh shit. I hit the brake a little bit, swerved the car. I don't know how I missed this thing. I was so close. I was expecting the mirror on my car to get that thing in the back end, because I knew I wasn't going to hit it straight on, but I was so close. I thought the mirror was going to slap that deer right in the ass. And so that whole scenario could have ended badly in so many different ways. But because of the protection we had from the people that were around us, this shows you that we could have jackknifed with the trailer, could have hit. If I'd hit the thing, my car would have been done. Yeah. Nowadays with these plastic cars, you hit a deer or something like that, it just totally totals the car. So my trip would have been done if we'd have hit it. But and then after that happened, 𝓘𝓷𝓽𝓻𝓸𝓭𝓾 shared a similar story that she had with a moose up in Canada, because she lives way up there as well. So those were kind of some of the crazy stories. People in the crowd. The biggest thing that was just the appreciation that people had for the people that were coming and speaking. You've meant some. It was just mind blowing how much of an impact your voice can have. People in tears. You helped me get through, and I watched you all the time. Blah blah blah. This and that and the other. So just seeing, the fruit of the work that we had done. Starting just ranting behind a webcam. Now getting out there and actually meeting the people, shaking hands, hugging necks. Sharing stories. That they felt they were isolated, but there's way more of us than we really realize. We need to get the people to stop being so silent. And not everybody needs to have a podcast or go to a school board meeting, but there's something that you can do in your community to make everybody else better off.
Yeah, and it can be as simple as making a driveway garden and getting other people to do the same. Like I said earlier, we complicate this situation, and it really doesn't need to be as complicated as we make it out to be. And it does not need to be fearful at all. We have to be focused on what the solution is. And there's so many of us. All it takes is just a little bit more unity, and it'll blow this wide open. And to me, I'm more pumped and excited than I am fearful by a long shot. Of course, I started being that way. I started being totally fearless way back at the beginning, because I knew how stupid everything was. And it's just a matter of waking enough people up. And then now the key is to rally them all together. And the Truth Tour and the CSA group, both of those are very important in this type of change that the world is taking place. It's happening behind the scenes. Some of the top players are being taken out behind the scenes. So we're cleaning up the chaff that's left at the bottom, and we're showing people what true community really is.
Right.
And
the next thing, we're going to be doing a huge thing. Everybody's talking about the southern border here in the United States. We got we're putting together, and it's already a go. We were able to start announcing it last week. Was the convoy that we're doing? It's there's a website we have. It's massive. It started out with just a couple of guys' vision, and then they shared and shared and shared. And now many different groups and organizations and people are being involved in this. TakeOurBorderBack.com. We're going to be doing a convoy just like the truckers convoy, but we're not going to be camping out. That's not the intention of this. I was on the People's Convoy here in the United States, the trucker one that went to D.C. So we got this convoy starting from Virginia Beach, going down to Jacksonville, across I-10, culminating with 3 mega events, one in San Ysidro, California, near San Diego, near Tijuana on the border, Yuma, Arizona, and then the other one is Eagle Pass, Texas. And Eagle Pass, Texas has been one of the big hot spots That's the place where the Texas governor sent the National Guard and kicked the feds out of this park. And that's going to be a pissing contest to see who ends up winning on that situation. I believe the states have the right there, but we'll see how that develops. But this convoy is, all about unity. People are frustrated, want to do something. Everybody can participate. Just go to takeourborderback.com for updates. You can participate by praying, sharing out the information, sharing the website and the link all over social media, get people aware. And then, come and join us, see the maps and routes that are on there. You go back to the site frequently in case something changes or tweaks. And you can join us, through the, I think, 28th, 29th of January through February 3rd.
Yeah. Awesome. Joe, why don't you let the people know how to, if they're interested in starting a CSA group, you're mainly focused in Canada. So if there's anybody in Canada that's listening that's interested in starting a community support alliance, or how much would you be willing to help them with, even in the States that wanted to do that? If you got a package that you could send them, or just ideas that you put together in a format?
Yeah, like I said, I'm just setting up one in Niagara region right now. So there's a template that I just provide, and it takes certain level of skill in working on communication platforms like Telegram to be able to build it and maintain it. But anyone building a new one right now, I just recommend them build it right on Facebook, because Facebook's, I don't think they're going to ban you now for that like they did me 3 years ago. And that's where everyone's on, is Facebook. As much as I hate the Facebook, it's that's the quickest way to really make connections locally in your community, because you got all the local community groups on Facebook, right?
Yeah, everybody was married to Facebook, and they still are, even the ones that hate it.
Yeah.
It's a firing position for me. I use it to do my live streams, push truth out, share different information, some stuff. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's some. I have some kind of. I wouldn't say it's not confirmed. I can't verify this, but somebody shared with me that Facebook and Zuckerberg types out there are looking for a big piece of property in Tennessee to be able to move the Meta headquarters from California to Tennessee, to get away from the California taxes and all kinds of other stuff. Whether it's true or not, I don't know.
How bizarre is that? Eh?
Yeah.
Ironic.
There's so much of that that's hard to find out what really is the truth, because
until it happens. I mean, it's just a supposition. That's why, but there's, that's the problem too. And some people, if I was of that ilk, I would say, yeah, I know, I got this inside information. Somebody told me that, yes, Facebook is going to be moving. It's 100%. I have this inside information. But even though Q said there's no outside comms, all kinds of other stuff, people that say they know, they don't know. You got to question those people for sure.
That's one of the things that I've got better at all along, is questioning what news that I hear. But I still go back to the main thing that right now in 2024 is get prepared for after the crash, after the financial crash. That's about the only thing that's left. There's little pockets of the cabal still haven't been fished or flushed out. And I'm sure that could even be a decade before all of them are flushed out. But these are exciting times. We've won the majority part of the battle. The worst is over. This year is going to have a different kind of bump, and the biggest bump's going to be that it's going to hit the sleeping hard in the pocketbook if they had a lot of money invested where they could lose it. But everybody else that's been following truthers and digging research out and learning to observe and learning how to have critical thinking goes back to my story of Martha and Michael. Everybody's immediately stopped talking about the Iraqi war. And that type of thing won't happen now. There's more people on this earth realm that are awake, that are not going to let themselves be carried down that path again. So we've already surpassed the worst, and I'm much more relaxed about what's coming down in the future. And to me, it's about getting people ready to rebuild communities again, garden together, have a neighborhood block party, put on a function and get a bunch of musicians together and just have a jam somewhere out around a fire at night. We've lost touch with the basic fun things, and anybody who's never been to one of those, any youngsters out there, and when they go to them, they're elated. They can't believe how much fun they are. It's the simple, basic stuff again, and that's where we're heading. In spite of the fact that technology is going to be there for us in a different way. So these are good times. Good times.
Okay, Neil, I'm going to leave on your positive message. Bruce, been a pleasure, man. Keep fighting.
I appreciate you coming in, Joe. Have a good night. You muted yourself, Bruce. There you are.
I was just saying we got to have fun, just like Neil says, man. We got to live our best life. I'm not worried about what any of these guys do. I'm aware, but I'm not worried.
Yeah.
Just got to keep fighting the good fight, and bring it. We need all hands on deck. All hands on deck. This is it's go time here.
Yeah.
It's time we start being some more offensive instead of being defensive.
Yeah, I think once everyone understands that it's a spiritual awakening, they really understand it. That's going to change the whole flow of everything, right? So,
and that's going to be the part that I add to the video when I upload it, is the metaphysical spiritual part to introduce the talk that we just had.
Nice. Okay, night, guys.
Yeah, good night, Joe. Have a good one. We'll see you Monday. I'm so glad you showed up, Bruce. I didn't know.
Yeah, I was trying for the long, and I don't know why. It was something that with that short link it didn't like, because every browser, I tried all the different browsers that I had, and it kept saying, this cannot make a secure connection.
Yeah.
And as soon as you sent me the long link, pop, bam, it went right in. I'm on Brave browser. Like, I think you mentioned that sometimes you have to use Edge or Chrome. Or was that something?
I've never had that. I've personally never had that problem, but I know that watching other Onpassive members when they do their webinars, most of them put the long link in the ad as well as the short one. And now I know why, because sometimes the short one fails to activate for whatever reason. So there's little glitches that going to have to be fixed for sure with Onpassive. Onpassive just made another. We're kind of at that point of the thing here. Onpassive made a big announcement that they're part of ICANN, ICANN, which means that they're now able to host domain names like GoDaddy. And that is huge. That is not something that can be taken as a light maneuver on the company part. That is huge. So that news alone tells me that the strength of this company has not shown itself yet. We don't know what it's really going to be about. Or this 𝓘𝓚's only been around since September, and they've already made all kinds of improvements from when I first got my package in September. And there are more of them coming. So I'm excited to see where that goes. But Bruce, it's a real pleasure for you to come. I'm going to check in the chat here and see if anybody else wants to talk. If anybody's asked to speak, sometimes we get people. Do you got any other things that you want to just add while I'm doing this in the background?
Oh, it's been, we just need more hands on deck. That's the whole thing. Making people aware to get up and do something. Everybody, that's been my message for a very, very long time. I'm wondering if I can do more. The stuff that I just feel like this is go time. There is an excitement, like you had mentioned, about what's going on, and I'm having some thought, or starting some discussions amongst the partners that I have that watch the stuff that I do. Let's start thinking about what's this thing look like on the other side, because I believe we're close to some type of major flip or switch. And it's not going to be, we're not going to wake up one morning and flip a switch and everything's going to be puppy dogs and rainbows.
Yeah.
But, there is going to be a shift, and there's going to be some work for us to do to be able to be rebuilt. So what does that look like? How do we want to do that? How are we going to, bring everybody, together and and have these discussions. That's the big thing that, because we can all piss and moan and complain about, we know what's going on now. Just when does it end? And then what does it look like on the other side?
One of the things that I have to admit that I'm an avid Q believer, because Q had a purpose. People think that's a psyop. 100% it was a psyop.
Everything is a psyop.
But it was a psyop to wake people up and cause them to do some research, something that so many people hadn't ever done in their life before. And those of us like myself, I started going down rabbit holes in the 90s when I read a book called The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America. And I started running down rabbit holes of conspiracy theories looking for the truth way back then. So none of that was new to me, but I realized in the pandemic stages at the very beginning how few people do any research down those paths. And I was shocked, quite frankly. I didn't realize there was that many. I call them, they're narrow-minded people. They're so narrow-minded they look through keyholes with both eyes.
It's true.
I know
that indoctrination is strong.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's the psychological survival mode, the cognitive dissonance that people can't come to that realization that, you know, everything that they've been taught, you know, to believe in, and then, you know, what they said was true is all bullshit.
Now the marker that Q had said to watch for is 11.3 or 11-3. And guess what that is? It finally come to surface. K. Haha. The 11th number or the letter of the alphabet is K. The third is C. King Charles, who's in the news. We're at that point now. And Trump the other day on his last speech, he come out wearing a white hat. He never ever wears a white hat.
Yep.
Like, there's so many. When you start to learn how to see the clues, they're everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Tons and tons of them. And when somebody else sees it before you do, and you come out and read it in a form, oh, how did I miss that? You know, we're not taught how to have critical thinking. And first, that observation skills. That's even more important than critical thinking. If you can't see, there's nothing to critical think about. So you have to be able to have observation skills and critical thinking skills, and be able to put them together with some discernment and extrapolate what you think is the truth, and then pursue some action steps to verify that it's correct.
Absolutely. And then, you know, when we're trying to talk to people out there too, to try to help them wake up, you know, we're always wanting to red pill people. Lewis came up with a term about, you know, we don't want to truth barf on them. You got to meet people where they're at, right? You know, somebody who's barely aware that maybe our elections ain't on the up and up. Maybe they're just barely aware of that. You don't want to come at them with _𝓷𝓽𝓻, because then their minds will just shut everything off. They'll go catatonic non-player character on you, and never listen. But, you know, if you just ask them questions, you know, did you hear, you know, about some news story? So, hey, did you see this? What did you think about that? And find out where they're at. Then you can kind of, you know, throw that, you know, and bring them in slow, and, you know, help them just to start to question. Once the light bulb goes on, once the veil has been thinned or curtain pulled back, if you will, then there'll be a flood of information that they just can't stop. They just need to be able to stop for a second and think, maybe the media isn't telling me. Maybe the government isn't have my best interests at heart.
Yeah.
You know, what are they trying to do in my local community by limiting, you know, how far I can drive, or you know, no red meat, no dairy. You know, so all these different things are starting to happen all over the place.
I had a friend that was trying to convince me that I should go and not eat any meat. You don't want to kill the cows. And he went into this big thing about it. And I says, well, if everybody stopped eating beef, we'd have to go to a zoo to even see a cow, because nobody be raising them. Their whole purpose for life is to give us beef.
Duh.
And you know, and his long pause told me that I made him see a little bit of a different perspective, because that's so true. Who the heck would go through all the work of raising cattle if they weren't going to sell them for the market?
No, absolutely. That's what God put stuff on here for. We're the beasts of the field. It's all ours.
Yeah.
And the things that we we just need to manage it. I mean, it's just crazy. Cow farts are destroying, making the environment. And all, this the whole climate cult thing. I mean, that's their the big next push. If maybe either this disease X or the climate thing for lockdowns, limiting people's whatever. Who knows what they're going to bring next? But I'm ready for everything. Bring it.
And
The sooner it happens, the sooner we can get on the other side.
When they had all those police cars in the mall in Florida, everybody got onto these 10-foot beings and whatnot. And I says, come on. I says, that's staged. What the heck was really going on behind the scenes? That was a hologram or some guy walking in stilts, whatever the case may be. But you can be rest assured that it wasn't real. What really happened there?
Right.
Well,
that's the question.
I believe that there was a lot of people planning on escaping the treasonous charges, and they were about to exit, and they were meeting at the mall to do it. I have that suspicion that it was actually a takedown of some people who were trying to sneak away. That's what I think happened. That's just an intuitive hunch, and my intuition is usually pretty good. And some of the people, even at the CSA group, they were concerned about what was that really, And I said, come on, it's just a bunch of nonsense. Look behind it. And while that's happening over there at the mall, what was happening down at the harbor?
Yep.
Everybody was at the mall, but the real thing was happening at the harbor. They do that all the time, and that's
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Bruce,
that's what, when everybody's talking about the same thing, I want to look behind that and see, well, what they're directing us over here, what are they hiding over here? So that's when I dig further on some of the smaller stories and try to dig in and find out what they're really doing. So that's a key aspect of this.
Yeah.
Learning where the distractions are coming from and where we need to focus our energy, because like you said, where focus goes, energy flows.
Yeah, absolutely. And right now, these are I lived my whole life for this time. I really believe it with all my heart that everything that I've gone through has made me ready for this time, because nothing that's happened has threw me off my ability to stand in my power. Even my landlady decided she was going to boot me out. That was June of last year of 22, and turn her place into a bed and breakfast. I paid rent there for 15 years. I did a bunch of drywalling, landscaping, fixed it up really classy. Like I was a good tenant, and whenever I got behind in rent, which because I never had a stable income, I was high and low all the time, I always caught up, and I was current when she kicked me out. So I still stood in my power, and at that time there was no places to rent here in this small town. None, literally none. I went around to towns in about a 40-minute radius, and I hung up posters saying a single senior gentleman, no pets, looking for single suite, a one-bedroom suite. And when I went around to do that, I didn't find a suite. I found 5 other people in the same boat as me. Their landladies and landlords kicked them out so that they could actually move a family member in for a year and capitalize on the rapid sale price of real estate.
Yeah.
So, these challenges, none of them through this whole time has took me away from my power. It's being able to stand in my power. And I thought, you know what? I really was made for this time. And hopefully Thrivalism Thursdays will continue to grow. And I'm giving it 6 months before I really have a crowd, because I know that it can take that long to build up a following. And I'll get a little bit better with my delivery and a little bit more planned to have what I want to open the topics with. But this one, I'm going to take this recording, do very little editing, and just add a beginning and add an end to it. So any last words? And then I'll shut the recording
keep
off.
fighting the good fight, man. Yeah, Neil, you are made for this time, because I can tell anybody who's never watched or seen, go check out Neil's stuff, because that's how I found him. He was a poster on my Telegram group, and I started looking at stuff like, man, this guy's cool as F. I dig him. So that's when we got connected, and done some stuff. So yeah, I'm super happy to be associated with Neil. He's got great information, great insight, great teaching. So yeah, go check out some of his stuff.
Yeah, and I will put the link to your channel down below. I have it, but why don't you voice it out?
It's Unpopular Viewpoint on Rumble. Unpopular Viewpoint is the name of the channel. And then I'm Bruce Poppy on Facebook. But right now I'm having a hell of a fun time on X, since that account was reestablished or reinstituted, however they do that. But I'm having lots of fun on X. It's Bruce Poppy, Poppy 1776 on X, at Bruce Poppy 1776 on X. That's where we're having a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, I never reactivated Twitter myself, or X. So thanks for coming in. I'm going to shut the recording off and hang around if you want. We'll just talk.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming to Thrivalism Thursday. Hopefully we'll see you next week and every week thereafter. Cheers. And may you be filled with peace profound.